Hello guys and welcome back. We have here a list provided by a teammate and card pool buddy Erickson, and we call this list for the standard as the Simic Terror. So it has similarities with the previous mono blue deck, but it's not really using the Hotijin as its main threat. Rather, it relies to some like very good mid-game to late-game kind of setup with these two kind of creatures, Dimir Crab and the namesake of the deck, the Lion Terror. So let's explore today this standard deck tech with this lineup. We have 8 creatures, 8 enchantments. As you can also see, the obvious reason why this kind of mini combo of the list would get you a good advantage. We have 17 instants, 18 lands for a mid-range deck. It's quite unusual, right? 18 lands, 9 sorceries, and 15 card sideboard. So we're going to start off with why this is called as the namesake. Let's check again the cards. So we start off again with the Lion Terror. This costs 1 less for each instant and sorcery card that's in your graveyard, and it's also ward 2. So casting new one later on would just cost you at least, at the most, as only 1 blue mana. And in the same setup, we have 4 copies of Dimir Crab. So this creature would be a flashy kind of setup. It also gives you a 5/5 threat, but it is ability that can enter tap up to 2 target creatures. So this kind of really good advantage for this tempo deck, because you can need to just flash it in at the end of your opponent's turn. At the most, it would only cost you 2 blue mana, tap their potential blockers, and then swing in for 5. But this way, this is not really only the threat in this deck, which we will explore next in this setup. So checking on the enchantments, you see here, this is another good advantage of the deck. So Storm Chaser's Talent is added here as 4 copies. This is ability that the first level, it will create a 1/1 blue-red altar creature with prowess, and then you can good mana sink later on. You can pay for, you can return another instant or sorcery card from your graveyard, and then when you pay 6, casting an instant or sorcery spell gets you a 1/1 blue and red altar creature token with prowess. So what this means is that in the late game, continuous barrage of your follow-up of multiple spells of instant and sorceries would get you this army of blue and red altar creature tokens with prowess, meaning that it would get pumped for each of your non-creature spells, at the same time producing more of your board with these tokens. Now for the other advantage, as mentioned, is of course up the min stock, wherein you can get you to spend a spell with mana 5 or greater, you will draw a card. So casting this one, casting Crab or Terror, would surely get you to draw or cantrip your way into this card advantage. You get a 1 mana 5/5 and you draw a card in the process. Now for the instants, this card choices here would make sure that you fill your graveyard with these card types. So we have several self-mill cards here. Cash grab, which mill 4 cards and then put a permanent card from among the cards milled into your hand, and then if you control a squirrel or return squirrel card, you will create a full token. This is not really necessary. You just need to mill 4 cards or return a terror or a land card or even an enchantment, or this one, the Sun Chaser's Talent, or up to win stock to your hand. And then we also have Seed Hope from March of the Machines. It is a similar scenario, but it's only mills you 2 cards, and then you will also gain 2 life in this setup. Now for your board control here, we have 8 cards that does it. We have 4 copies of Flood Maw. Into the Flood Maw, which gives you to bounce a creature upon controls. So if the gift was promised, you can bounce another non-permanent. And 4 copies of Discount and Big Enough. This would also cost 3 less if it targets a permanent you control. So you can return up to 2 target non-permanents to the owner's hand. So targeting this would get you to target, for example, your Storm Chaser's Talent or your Up the Beanstalk for another way to card trip again. So targeting your beanstalk and your opponent's non-land permanent threat, for example, would be your good way to target them. And for the last one, we have 3 steps ahead for the instant, which is only one copy, but it can be useful in some scenarios because of countering spells, creating tokens, or drawing 2 cards and then discard a card. Now for your sorcery, which also gets you to do some spell shenanigans along with creating these tokens from some Chaser's talent, are your copies of Sleight of Hand and Bushwhack. So Sleight of Hand is just another 1 mana cantrip that fixes your card draws, and of course Bushwhack would get you for searching a basic land and can also deal with fighting for any instance that you would need to kill off a creature your opponent controls. So this makes sure that your basic land is searched, and with 18 lands in the setup, you make sure that you won't really miss your land drops. And just another one of copy, Analyze the Pollen, to make sure that it can also cost you to search a basic land, or in any case you would be able to collect evidence 8, you would be able to search library for a creature or any land card and put it into your hand. Now for the quick rundown of your lands, you can see here that it's just plainly composed of mana fix. Of course, Botanical Sanctum is an auto include. 2-Edge Mage for the Surveil effect, like also good help with the mana card of fix, and another copy, just 1 copy of Restless Vinestock for your man land. Well, as the rest are just more of a fix in basic lands, forest and island for this setup. Now it's one way, it's just basically mill yourself, out-tempo your opponents, and then cast creatures with cantrips with Up the Beanstalk and Storm Chaser's talent as your in-game deck setup. For the sideboard, I can check here, we have some specific matchups which I will just explain for a little bit. So starting off again with Negate, since Negate is very good against midrange decks or even for the control decks. We know that blue-white control still exists in the metagame. So that's 3 copies. We also have 2 copies of Long River Spool that can go with countering creature spells against mid-range aggro like Dimir, like Golgari, for example. So you can also have them give a card in any instance that you need to counter target spell. That is no restriction kind of counter. A copy of Silent Baloth. If we expect more of the Liliana shenanigans or discarder decks, you can have this one against them to get you a 4/4 threat for free and also gain you 4 life. 3 copies of Pick Your Poison. Against, of course, there are popular leyline, the mono red leyline decks with the turn 0 leyline would have you to answer it on your turn 1 Pick Your Poison. So we have 3 copies in the deck to make sure that you can draw this. At any instance, also you can kill off Orobas Forge with Sacrificing Artifact, or just kill off a relevant creature with flying. So just any instance, this would be a very good sideboard choice against those kind of scenarios. Now also, Graveyard Shenanigans would also be a problem against the Reanimator, the Atraxa decks. So make sure that you can have a sideboard against them to prevent their graveyard advantage. So Soulgate Lantern here is the best choice. Comes to play, you can exile target card, and then you can just tap to sacrifice it, exile its opponent's graveyard, and at any instance you would need to card draw, you can just pay 1, then sacrifice this one to draw your card. It's pretty much a very useful kind of 1 mana artifact. And in addition also, we have additional copies of 3 Steps Ahead for more counter spells and other support effects if needed. And lastly, a copy of Thran. This would also go against the blue-white control since this can't be countered and gives you a 5/5 trampler threat. And it also can't be the target of non-green spells your opponents control or abilities from non-green forces. This is also a good threat per se with this kind of setup, which you just need to, like for example, board out your bounce spells like this one and change them into negates and run Breaker of Silence against the blue-white or blue-black control shenanigans. Let's check on the deck stats. We have more of the blue, and the blue here was 29 and green is 17, but with production is pretty much ahead with green and 16 sources, whereas blue has 12. And the cost of the deck It's averagely 2.71. We have a lot of 1 mana and 2 mana spells. But you need here is just basically the reason why the deck would only have 18 lands, because there are several ways for them to just mill self and then return a lands to make sure that their card draws or your land drops are accomplished. And with this kind of setup, it's really much that the long game would really go to your advantage, and of course cantrips and threats are continuously added to your hand and board. And check it from the tokens. We have 4 tokens here: copy token, the fish token for the gift, the food token, and the other token. So as you can see, the other token would really your end game threat that can produce from the talent, and several of these armies can be potential to just win you the games out of nowhere. And just plainly attacking initially with these crabs and this terror would also be a good threat to ward off your opponent. So I think that's pretty much it for this deck tech against Simic Terror by Ericsson X-Fire on Maxfield. You want to check this one if you want to try this, playing this on your MTG Arena or MTG Online. Just let me know of any questions or comments on how this deck would fare against aggro against the other top tier metagame decks in the standard format. And guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, notifications bell on, and see you on the next video.